joke, I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Poppin', lockin', stoppin', let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my Jaeger.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here, not live in studio, and not looking at camera 2 either. Thank you very much, Mike. We are ready to roll on tape on a Wednesday afternoon. Taping this, not in our usual time slot, a little schedule snafu, but we needed to bring you a show this week, so we're sneaking in for the Memorex Is It Live or Is It Memorex version of the show, Wednesday afternoon affair. And I did rally up the troops. Yes, Mr. Bob Rowe Jr. is here.
Yeah, he's not in the hospital. He's
not in the hospital. He was here working on his Spotlight On show. We're cutting into his editing time, and he's giving us the studio so we can do a little show. So hello there, Bob.
How are you, Scott?
I'm doing good. Starting to feel the pressure of Christmas, though.
Yeah, well, I see we got some new lights in the back.
We do. How about that?
Red Sox.
You can see them. They look like orbs. You take those photos and like the orbs show up where everybody says that means you have ghosts in the house. It kind of looks like that. But they are Red Sox ornament lights. Nice, very nice. Mm-hmm. So we also have Mr. Mike Toohey in the control room doing his thing. Expose Cinema Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. Bob's show, Spotlight On Tuesdays 9, Wednesdays at 12. And Mr. Peter Green is back with us. He's been a somewhat regular helping out on the show. He had to come down and bring a few ornaments and things, some Red Sox gear. I see some Mets stuff behind me, things all abound. So Peter is here, and we will get to the stat of the day momentarily as Pete brought in his usual statistical note that we need to get to. Quick mention, Fatty Roots Show. If you missed it, they were great at the Ancient Mariner up in Ridgefield on Sunday afternoon. Football and reggae. What could be better, Bob?
You can't go anywhere.
They had TVs with all the games on, blizzards on TV, and the reggae taking you to Jamaica inside, keeping warm. It was a nice gig.
Sunday was mostly like a snowball, especially in
crazy weather games out there. Before we get to the football, let's. Last week we started with baseball. Let's finish that conversation as some more things have gone down. What do you know? Robbie Cano going for a cup of Joe.
He's going out to the Mariners.
It's Seattle. I guess Jay-Z's got a different empire state of mind in mind there. The Seattle Starbucks empire. Robbie Cano bolts the pinstripes, leaves him high and dry, takes the big, huge mega contract, 10 years, $240 or so.
Right.
And then the Yankees do what they do. They back that up with bringing in another free agent after the Ellsbury stealing from Boston. They had already got their catcher McCann. They go and they get the former Met.
Yeah,
Mr. Carlos Beltran, who comes to town. So he dons the pinstripes. And the Mets answer by signing the Grandy man. Granderson does go to Citi Field and play with the Mets. Met fans this week are already up in arms thinking that is pretty much going to be the only deal the Mets make.
Nah, I think we'll make a couple more.
And we'll wait and see, but Mets fans are getting antsy. And they should be because, the Mets have been targeting this year as the year they turn the corner. They start spending more money again and looking to be competitive. Granderson's a nice move. I fear he could be much like Jason Bay with the big home run swing and former Parks, but the low on-base percentage, high strikeout scenario.
And be hurt.
And be hurt as well. So hopefully that fear does not come true for the Mets. They need somebody to actually show up and produce like the baseball card, back of the baseball card says he will, and stay healthy. That would be nice for the Mets. And Beltran, I think the Yankees actually are better off now than they were with Cano and whatever else they were going to do. I mean, I personally think Cano's overrated.
Right.
He puts up stats. All I hear every year is he's best pure hitter since Rod Carew. I don't know if I can buy that.
Last year in the playoffs, what did he do?
I always hear that he's going to win multiple batting titles, Haven't seen that happen yet.
He went-
I hear that this is the year he's going to carry the team. He's going to be the leader. He had his chance last year. They didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I've heard, other years when, A-Rod was obviously slumping going into the postseason, hurt, other guys banged up. It was Cano's turn to carry them through a playoff series for a victory.
And he dropped the ball.
He went 0 for 30.
Yeah.
So, personally, and it pains me to say, I think they're better off with gritty, gutty players like Ellsbury, Beltran, and the McCann guy, and we'll see what they do pitching-wise. That's where their big questions are now.
Well, they
for the
signed
Yankees.
Kuroda for, 1 year?
Kuroda, well, he melted down as the
Right.
season went on last year. He was not very good in the second half of the year. So I'm not that concerned with them bringing him back. They need to go out and get somebody else.
Oh, they need a major
Pettit
starter.
is gone. Rivera is gone. We'll see what happens with that pitching
They're
staff.
going to need a mid reliever and closer, somewhere to.
Robinson will be the guy, but until you're actually the guy, we don't know if you can be the guy. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to set up than to actually close.
Plus,
Plus it changes the whole dynamic of the bullpen leading up to the close.
Right.
If you don't have a reliable setup coming into the close, that can throw things out of whack as well.
Now, here's the other scenario. You don't know how first base is. You don't know how Texera is going to be. You don't know if Jeter's coming back 100%.
With the broken ankle, coming off that at the age of, how old is he? Is he 40 yet?
He's 39.
Right.
So you move out Soriano back to his old position at.
Second base. He hasn't played second base in 8 years, though.
But, I'm just saying. And then what do you do for third? Because you don't know what A-Rod's going to do.
He's going to be suspended. He's
So-
going to be
so you gotta
suspended for
find
at least
somebody
a huge chunk of the season, if not all.
Yeah. So you got to find somebody to.
So they need a second baseman, they need a third baseman, they need pitching. They got some good players that they are bringing in, but there's still a long way to go with
And
what
I
they're
hear
gonna do.
Gardner might be on the trading block, so.
Yeah, well, they don't necessarily need him with Ellsbury there.
Yeah.
Ellsbury's a far better player than he is. So maybe they deal him out. Red Sox did bring back Mike Napoli, so my favorite home run call, Ava Napoli, gets to stay in town, as he will certainly go
He'll
along.
be in the mix.
He was back. They did re-sign him, so that was good. They lost Saltamaki. We know they lost Ellsbury, but bringing Napoli back was big. Jackie Bradley Jr. will get to step center stage, take over center field for Ellsbury. The other young kids were stepping up as the season went on and helped them to that World Series. Bogarts, Middlebrooks, Nava, those guys. I think the Red Sox will be just fine. They got six starting pitchers, so they might be looking to move one. Bullpen will be better because Miller's coming back. Hanneran is coming back. I think they let Bailey walk. He's been hurt the 2 years he was there, so that's no big deal.
And of course, Big Papi will be back.
And Big Papi will be back. And, Pedroia will be leading the way. So the Red Sox will be the defending champs. We do know that, and we celebrate that. We will see as baseball has heated up a little bit the last couple weeks. All right, let's do a little quick college football because it's going to be a little break before we need to talk about that again before the championship game. But the picture is clear now. Auburn
is in for.
They made it in with a huge shootout. I'd like to see them play a little more defense, Bob. They tend to give up points. And it would have been interesting, actually, to see them actually. Of course, this never could have happened with the scenarios, but I would have liked to see them play Ohio State, actually, because Ohio State typically puts up a lot of points. They finally went up against a team that played defense, Michigan State, who is now the odd team out in the BCS scenario where 1 and 2 play and there's no playoff. Because Michigan State, how do they feel about this?
Right.
Auburn knocked off Bama. They end up in the championship game with 1 loss. Michigan State knocked off Ohio State. They're not going to get a chance to play, even though they knocked off number 2, undefeated, in the Big Ten championship game with defense and a good night. I mean, they really almost blew this game. They were up 17-0. Ohio State rallied, took the lead, and it looked like Michigan State was going to fold, but they responded with some offense of their own, and then the defense just shut them down in that fourth quarter to end it and end the talk of Ohio State getting to play Florida State. And, of course, the famous Jameis Amos situation. He's cleared to play. No rape charges handed down. Florida State gets to play in that championship against Auburn. That should be a good game. SEC for once underdog. 7 points or 8 points, depending on where you look in the game. We know Auburn or SEC has won 7 straight championship games, so a little interesting to see them as the underdog. Their defense, they need to play defense against Florida State because Florida State can play defense, and we know they can play offense. So I expect a high-scoring game there.
How about your Colorado State?
They are in. Did not get to see who they're playing yet. I don't know what the bowl scenario is for them, but they are in. I will look that up and have that for you next week. UConn, we know, is not in, but I did want to mention, because we forgot to last week, how they finished the season on a modest 2-game winning streak. But more importantly, they played well, and they played well under the Connecticut kid, Casey Cochran. Played really well out of Monroe, former New Londoner. Ended up finishing his career at Massac with state championships and really put up humongous numbers for that high school team. And they let him go. They unleashed him, and they got 2 wins out of the deal. So very nice end of the season for UConn. At least after this horrible, horrible season, they have something positive to possibly look forward to next year as they start their coaching search. The interim coach will not be back as the head man. They will look for somebody. Who knows who that somebody will be? We will wait and see on that. But at least they ended on something positive. We'll just take a quick mention on basketball because there's not much to talk about. UConn is on a little break with the holiday. They got Washington and Stanford coming up this weekend into early next week. So they'll be back at it starting Saturday. Right now, not that many big games going on as it's that time of year where finals are happening and some of the schools are taking a little bit of a break from the early season rough schedule. But they'll be right back at it. Washington and Stanford, a couple more big teams for the basketball team to play against. NFL, Bob.
Well, my team is done.
And I think my team might be done as well.
Oh, that'd be the odd to see the Patriots and Giants not in the playoffs.
Well,
this
we
year.
know the Patriots will be in the playoffs. They have not wrapped up the AFC East yet. The Dolphins are looming, although that is a long shot for them to actually catch the Patriots. But we do go to Miami this weekend down south, and we will not be bringing the Gronk.
Yeah, he is.
Rob Gronkowski
is done.
Not here. He is not with us. Sadly, this is his fate. It seems to be year in, year out, the operative word, out. As Gronk, who fought back from last season's injury, back surgery, arm fracture, arm surgery, and he gets blown up on this play by the Browns. And what was an amazing comeback, another one by the Patriots, how they're pulling out these victories. And right there you see as he also got a concussion. He blew up his knee, but he hit his head as well, and there was a concussion in that as well. This is the fallout of the not able to target high, you must go low.
So you take him out at the knees and...
I mean, everybody says this is a clean hit. Personally, I think the guy freaking, went straight at his knee.
Right.
I think you could do a little better than that if you're a football player. Put his helmet right into his knee, blew him up, ACL, MCL, out, done for the year. The Gronk, huge factor for the Patriots in their offense. We know early in the year as they were working in the young guys, they were having trouble with the offense. They were getting victories anyways, but since he's been back, their offensive efficiency has skyrocketed, and they've been better. But he will be gone. We'll see what the Patriots can do without him. We already know they got huge injuries on defense that they're trying to overcome. Mayo and Will Fork. Will Fork eat with Mayo, not on the field, apparently. Those 2 big holes in the defensive side. They've done an okay job overcoming that, but when it comes to the playoffs, you need your best players on the field. So I don't see any positives really as far as looking at the Patriots and the possible of a deep playoff run. With Brady and with Belichick, as we see week in and week out with these comebacks, nothing is impossible. Stunning victory over the Browns, getting the onside kick and the touchdown, game-winning touchdown at the very end of the game there, and then holding on as a 58-yard field goal attempt by the Browns sailed short did not make it.
No.
But other big games this past weekend, and all in the snow. How about that Eagles game, Bob?
They had what, 5 inches of snow on the ground before the game even started.
That was nuts. They did nothing, no clearing of the field at all.
They
and
were
it
just
kept
walking
coming down.
just doing the.
And by the time the second half came around, the offenses just started taking over. First half, it looked like the offenses weren't going to be able to do anything. They couldn't even kick extra points in this game.
No.
The snow was so bad. But they got it going, and the Eagles proved that Lions cannot play in the snow because they took care of business, and they move into sole possession of first place, Bob, at 8-5. They had to wait till Monday night to find out for sure
Because
as the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? They fell apart.
Bears gave them a.
Well, how about this, Bob? You're not going to win too many football games if the opposing team scores at least a field goal, if not a touchdown, on every single possession of the game.
Yeah.
That's the Cowboys' defense.
You know what? Here was the problem. The Cowboys were playing where it was too cold. That's what the problem was.
Side note, I know very well about what happened in this game because I was going up against Josh McCown and Matt Forte in my first round playoff again in the SMAC League, not the Money League, thankfully.
Oh, how is your fantasy league doing?
Well, one of them is done with. I got robbed out of a bye week by RG Me, who's going to the bench 2 weeks ago. I should have had a bye week. Somehow he stole my bye week. I had to play this week in the first round.
Yeah.
And I got blown out. Adrian Peterson goes down with an injury early in the game. That wasn't a good sign for me. And this kid McCown blows up on Monday night against the Cowboys, and that sealed my fate as I am out of the SMAC League.
Ooh.
But I did finish first place in the Money League, and I get the bye week there this week, sitting around watching the other team sweat it out for the first round, and I'll be back next week to see if I can move into the championship game. So things are still not bad as far as the fantasy goes. Disappointing in the SMAC League because that's a fun one to be in. I like to talk smack in that league, but I got shut down. Shut down. So that was so the NFC East picture. Philadelphia moving ahead of the class, and they're at Minnesota this week, and the Cowboys losing in Chicago, and they get Green Bay at home this weekend. And Packers kept their season alive with the gritty, gutty comeback against the Falcons. Still sounds like Rodgers is not going to come back, however.
No, he sounds like he's still hurt from.
They're shaky. It looked like maybe he was going to be ready. Matt Flynn got the job done, but not impressively against the Falcons. We'll see what happens in that game. But that division is still tight because the Lions are, just falling apart. Bob, why hasn't this team run away with it?
I don't know.
They're now tied with the Bears at 7-6. The Bears and the Packers are playing with backup quarterbacks, and the Lions can't put them away. And so they're tied 7-6. Green Bay 6-1. That tie still looming large. If Rodgers could ever come back, the Packers could steal that division and still make a playoff run. In the NFC, we'll stay in the NFC. Saints held on to their division lead with the pound beat down. They marched all over the Panthers. That 8-game winning streak goes bye-bye. And the Panthers get to lick their wounds, and they get to play against the Jets.
Hey, the Jets did good this weekend.
And they got back on track. I was not surprised by that. I've been saying all along, even with the losing streak the Jets had, they were at 5-4. Those first 5 wins still count. So they're still in the mix at 6-7 now because the Raiders stink.
They're still like on the outside.
The Raiders were not going to come east at a 1 o'clock start time and win, even if they were playing against the Jets. So the Jets, they got that victory, but they head to Carolina this week, and I fully expect the Panthers to beat them back down, and that will put the Jets at 6-8, and that could be the dagger to end things for the Jets. But if they somehow get the Panthers, who might be overlooking the Jets because they get a rematch at home against the Saints the following week.
Right.
So there is that possibility. And the Jets' defense isn't terrible, but I think the Panthers will handle them. Other things going on in the NFC, we'll stay there. Seattle loses at San Francisco. I think this game is more important for San Francisco just maintaining the wild card than anything else. I think Seattle still has the upper hand. as far as home field advantage. They certainly have it as far as winning that division with a 2-game lead.
Right.
But they still have a game lead on New Orleans plus a tiebreaker. So I think Seattle's still okay even with that loss, late field goal by San Fran. But that was important for them because Arizona won again, and they are only a game behind San Francisco for that final wild card spot. So they have to keep winning. And Carolina better make sure they take care of business. They don't want to fall back to the pack and let that big winning streak go by the by. Let's move to the AFC, and here we will. We will get to Peter Green's stat of the week.
Oh, what is the stat of the week?
It is the record-breaking kick by Matt Prater of the Denver Broncos in the mile-high air, chilly air. No snow out there this week. It was cold, however, and in that thin, cold air, he breaks the record, 43-year record, which had been tied. Off the top of my head, I can't think of who had actually tied that record, but it wasn't Dempsey, the kicker who had half a foot with the steel toe.
Right.
Had the 63-yard field goal that he held for 43 yards. It was tied for the last handful of years. But the Denver kicker gets it done. At the end of halftime, they run him out there and say, go for it, 64 yards, and he does that. So that is your stat of the week, Peter Green special. Thank you very much for bringing that in, Peter. And the Broncos get another win against the Titans. They maintain their lead over Kansas City. So they're looking good, and they made the one game up on the Patriots for the overall best record. Cincinnati beats down the Colts, who really look terrible at this point. And the Cincinnati maintains pace, one game behind the Patriots. The Patriots really have a tough time. Miami goes to Pittsburgh this weekend. I think we might have some snowy shots of that as well. They go into Pittsburgh and they come up with the last-minute victory over the Steelers. You'd think a cold, warm weather team traveling to the Steel City to take on the Steelers, whose season is on the brink. You'd think Pittsburgh would come up with the goods. They could not do it. It was Miami getting it done. So Miami 7-6. They are tied with the Ravens, who also got a wild victory in the snow against the Vikings. This game was like 7-6, 14-12.
Yeah.
There was 5 touchdowns scored in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that was
unbelievable. And really, the refs came through with the weather to give the Ravens the victory. Big, bad calls late in this game give Baltimore the victory against the Vikings. So the Ravens 7-6, Miami 7-6. They are holding down that final playoff spot. San Diego, who beat down your Giants badly, Bob. Badly
is the word.
Officially ending the Giants season.
Well, Eli kept throwing three picks.
That was horrible. Not so sunny San Diego for the G-men. They are done. Done, Bob. 4th time in 5 years they are out of the playoffs. At least I got that Super Bowl in there, plus they had the one before that run. So you've got that to hang your hat on. Not good for the Giants, but San Diego 6-7. Jets 6-7. So really, those are the 2 other teams vying with 3 games left.
I mean, if the Jets make it to 7-7, you got a good shot.
Big games this weekend. Baltimore at Detroit on Monday night. That's a big one. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. They're trying to catch the Patriots. We mentioned Patriots at Miami. Philadelphia's heading to Minnesota, who has been playing very well, actually, lately. But Peterson, I think, is getting shut down. Maybe the Eagles catching a little motivation from their cheerleaders. Very nice indeed. Seattle's coming to your Giants. That doesn't mean much.
No.
So there's some big games, certainly, with playoff implications.
And tomorrow night's game,
that's a big game because San Diego's traveling to Denver. So that is actually a big game right there. Like to see San Diego come up with the win. Patriots still somehow could maybe sneak in with that number 1 seed, but they do have that tiebreaker. NBA action. Well, if you're talking Eastern Conference basketball, it's not fantastic, Bob.
Because the records are not.
Still, only two teams over 500 in the East. The Boston Celtics remain in first place at 10-13. Did you happen to catch out that early Sunday matinee in the Garden, Bob, where your Brick City boys bombed out?
Yeah, against
The Boston Celtics up by 30 points in the first quarter. 18-1 start to the game, I think it was. They were up by 45 points, Bob. 45 points in the second half. They go on to a 41-point laugher. An absolute demoralization. Celtics have actually won, they had won 6 of 8 with that victory. They did not fare as well against their former compadres, Paul Pierce, the Truth, and KG, the Big Ticket, Garnett in Brooklyn last night. The Nets finally get a win. They moved to a 4-17, 7-14, I mean, and the Knicks 5-15, Bob, as they got blown out last night by the Cavs.
The worst record they've ever started out with.
Yes, indeed it is, and they are horrible. So the Celtics, we're taping this, as we mentioned, on a Wednesday afternoon, airing on a Thursday. So we cannot give you the result as we find out what happens with Doc Rivers coming back to Boston on Wednesday night with his clip joint coming into town. And let's see, NHL, Bob, as we're wrapping things up here.
Yep.
Have your Rangers, your blue shirts, have they won a game since they handed out the big, huge contract to one King Henrik Lundqvist?
They have not. 4 straight losses.
4 straight losses. They were playing well before that. Bruins came to town, knocked them down, and they have been struggling. Let's take a peek. They are still in 3rd place in the Metropolitan Division, whatever that is.
Yeah. How about those
at
other
31
teams?
points. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in front of them. That makes them the 8th seed right now, tied with Carolina.
And,
Islanders finally snapped their losing streak last night. They had lost 9 in a row, I believe.
And then
somebody tell them there's no lockout this year. You're supposed to be playing early in the season. The Islanders last place, 21 points in the Metropolitan Division. Come on, Islanders.
And how are the Devils?
Devils, mediocre at best. 30 points, a point behind your Rangers. So not much going on. The Bruins, however, they beat the Penguins this weekend.
Yeah.
They lost to the Canadiens in that matchup, but they did move back in front of the Canadiens, so they are still doing well. We will be live next week. Thanks for tuning in. Hope the taped version did you well. We will see you then. Enjoy.
And the Whalers will be playing this weekend.
Oh, yeah, Whalers at home this weekend if you want to check out hockey locally. Friday and Saturday night
Dayton.
at the Denver Ice Arena. Take care.